Go Insung ran towards the monster, thinking that every monster surely had a weak spot, so he would stab and wound right in the monster's chest. But the monster didn't stay still. Once again, it attacked Go Insung with its tentacles. Go Insung managed to dodge the attack by jumping high enough. He also immediately slashed all the tentacles coming towards him. Go Insung thought he just needed to pass through those tentacles. But suddenly, several tentacles emerged attacking him from underground. The tentacles lifted Go Insung's body high, then threw him to the ground with great force. Go Insung grumbled inwardly because he couldn't sense the tentacles' appearance even though he was very focused. Go Insung was thrown to the ground so hard that he spat blood. After that, Go Insung's body was lifted high again and thrown to the ground. The audience began to despair and speculate that the young man wouldn't be able to hold on anymore. They thought Go Insung couldn't do anything anymore. Go Insung was thrown until he reached the side of Beauty's body. The audience saw the two lovers lying helpless together. It seemed like the perfect ending to their story. The audience began to worry because there was no movement from either of them. Meanwhile, the moonlight dimmed further, indicating their time was running out. When Go Insung's condition was critical, suddenly his heart started beating very fast because of the level 1 unyielding will skill being activated. Go Insung's body jerked, and he immediately rose again in perfect condition. All the pain from his injuries disappeared thanks to that skill. All his physical stats doubled even though only for 3 minutes. The audience was amazed to see Go Insung's resurgence. They wondered if everything would become even more interesting now. Go Insung looked at the monster in front of him and realized that even though he had gained the unyielding will ability, he still couldn't defeat the monster with just a 2-time stat boost. Go Insung realized his choice now was to target the moon. As Go Insung was busy thinking, the monster's tentacles began attacking him again. Quickly, the young man slashed them until they were severed again. The monster roared in anger, but Go Insung was still busy thinking about how to hit the moon, because he realized he couldn't throw Beauty's sword. Go Insung turned to Lord Socrates, pleading for his help once again. But Lord Socrates said that Go Insung was disturbing him without reason. Hearing that, Go Insung fell to his knees. He realized he couldn't avoid death by continuing like this. In a moment of utter despair, Go Insung suddenly received a gift. He was confused and wondered who gave him the gift. When opened, it turned out Beauty gave him a gift of 1,200 balloons. This time Go Insung had 1,600 balloons. This was more than enough to buy the spear he desired. Go Insung looked towards Beauty's still weakly lying body. The girl immediately gave him a thumbs up. Then slowly Beauty got up and said they had to finish that dungeon even if they had to fight to the death. Now Go Insung only had 30 seconds until the deactivation of the unyielding will skill. He helped Beauty get up, and the girl asked for her sword back. Beauty chose to hold off the big monster so Go Insung could focus on throwing his spear. With agility, and as fast as lightning, Beauty cut off every tentacle of the monster that came towards them. After entrusting the rest to Beauty, Go Insung immediately bought the adamantine crystal reinforced spear. The spear shone golden and looked stunning. The system explained that the spear had the best quality of adamantine pearl and a 14-level attack. The spear also provided 10% destruction damage when attacking. Go Insung immediately ran towards the monster with the spear. This shocked Beauty and the audience. Go Insung kept running towards the giant monster even though the monster tried to stop him with its big arms. Go Insung managed to dodge the monster's attack and kept climbing up its body through its arms. The monster tried to catch Go Insung again with its other arms, but the young man managed to dodge and kept climbing up. After reaching the monster's shoulder, Go Insung took aim and jumped as high as he could. Then he threw his spear with all his might. Beauty now understands that Go Insung intentionally climbed the monster to reduce the distance between himself and the moon. Everyone was astonished when they finally saw the giant spear successfully impaling the moon, then creating something that covered the moon, cracked, and shattered it. Everyone present was amazed to see the moon's shell crack in the extremely bright moonlight. A confused spectator asked why there was a moon inside the moon. Another spectator explained that only its shell had been destroyed. The moon became dim because the shell was too thick. While everyone at the scene was delighted to see the moon shining brightly again, the monsters panicked, because the bright moonlight would burn them all. Meanwhile, Go Insung successfully landed safely on the ground. He then witnessed even the giant undead monster melting under the full intensity of the moonlight. Suddenly, the mystical turtle on Go Insung's shoulder screamed while staring at the giant monster. As if understanding the desire of his pet turtle, Go Insung immediately placed the mystical creature down and instructed it to consume everything it saw. The small turtle opened its mouth and slowly sucked up the remains of the giant undead monster's body. After the monster disappeared, the system appeared and announced that Go Insung had successfully cleared Dungeon 1-5. The system also announced that Go Insung's young spirit turtle had met the nutrition requirements to level up, allowing it to evolve to an advanced level. But the system would still absorb all soul essences to enhance physical statistics. Go Insung was entitled to receive the Demon Soul Stone as a reward. But the young man was stunned to realize that his soul essence would be absorbed. He realized he would still die no matter how hard he fought earlier. But the young man was happy because the fight was very exciting and enjoyable. The spectators greatly appreciated Go Insung's final battle. They couldn't wait to meet this young man in person. However, suddenly Go Insung realized something. He quickly took the celestial bamboo fruit from his inventory and chewed it. When the survival skill time finally expired, Go Insung held his chest in pain and coughed up blood. The black-haired youth fell unconscious. Beauty, Mr. Socrates, and Mr. Plato immediately approached him. Mr. Socrates examined him and realized that the young man was still alive. Not long after, Go Insung regained consciousness. He noticed his small turtle sitting quietly on his arm, healing his body all the while. Mr. Socrates immediately explained that Go Insung had been unconscious for a full day. The spectators said that if it weren't for the celestial fruit, Go Insung would have met them all already. Now they awaited Go Insung's next adventure. Mr. Socrates said it was a miracle that Go Insung could fight the giant undead, because that monster was considered elite even in advanced classes. Go Insung agreed because he also obtained soul essence from that giant monster. Go Insung then checked his inventory and realized there was a soul stone. The system explained that it was a large witch soul stone. Its class was advanced, and it contained the soul of a great wraith. Extracting its soul gave someone the chance to learn one random unique trait of the great wraith. But to activate this stone, one must have a soul extractor. Go Insung thought that the unique trait sounded like a skill. Then he asked Socrates where he could get the soul extractor. Mr. Socrates replied in the next dungeon. The spectators, who had been watching Go Insung's battle and struggle from the beginning, were increasingly eager to watch the next adventure. Go Insung begged Mr. Socrates if he could tell him a little spoiler. Mr. Socrates replied that telling Go Insung to go to a cafe and drink coffee was not considered a spoiler. Go Insung understood and carefully examined his status screen again. He realized that an evolution stone was needed to evolve, so nothing was free in this world. Then the system also explained that the young turtle was a direct descendant of the Black Turtle constellation, which was the god of the four directions. Go Insung could evolve his turtle after meeting the level upgrade requirements. Then Go Insung noticed that the unyielding will skill had also increased. But Go Insung chose not to use that skill again considering the risks were too great. Suddenly, Mr. Socrates touched Go Insung's shoulder and praised his good work. Go Insung had surprised Mr. Socrates with his complex level. Go Insung himself slapped his face and looked regretful as he only had one life. Go Insung then asked where Beauty was. He guessed Beauty must have gone to the next dungeon after clearing that dungeon. But Mr. Socrates said that the girl was still waiting for Go Insung at the exit. Beauty said she felt embarrassed to leave first when someone was lying unconscious. Moreover, she could only finish this dungeon with Go Insung's help, so she would give first place to Go Insung. That's the message Beauty conveyed through Mr. Socrates. Finally, Go Insung went to the exit and met Beauty. The girl recounted how worried she was when she saw Go Insung stop breathing completely at that moment. But she felt relieved after Go Insung finally started breathing again with the help of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Go Insung was immediately shocked to hear that, because that meant someone had kissed him. But then Beauty pointed to Mr. Socrates and said that the old man there was the one who performed artificial respiration for Go Insung. After that, Beauty asked Go Insung to step onto the hexagonal stone and go to the next dungeon to be the first place. Go Insung asked Beauty first, "Is it okay if I become the first place?" Beauty urged the young man to hurry before his thoughts changed. "Prepare to get there as soon as possible. I've been busy with my parents for a long time. I won't forgive you if you're caught fooling around again." Go Insung shook Beauty's hand and sincerely said he hoped to meet Beauty again on another occasion. Beauty hoped so too. After bidding farewell to Lord Plato, Go Insung immediately climbed the six-sided rock. Then quickly, Go Insung moved to dungeon 1-6, and only a total of 40 people could enter the dungeon. The system screen appeared and successfully startled Go Insung. Dungeon has been completed with a high level of difficulty for the first time in 1351 years. Great King Yomer congratulated you for passing the special stage. Viewers who have watched the broadcast channel will be able to get a 10% discount on subscription fees. The audience was very happy to receive such a notification. Even among them, some expressed thanks and I love you to Go Insung as a form of appreciation. Even Self-Reflection 469 or Lord Socrates immediately gave Go Insung a gift of 100 balloons. Because Go Insung was the first person to successfully enter dungeon 1-6, he was entitled to a reward. The young man was asked to choose between two doors in front of him. Finally, Go Insung chose the red door. When this young man entered the door, the system welcomed him to the Red City. Now the shop from the dungeon could only be accessed. Go Insung saw everything in the city was red, and it made him a little scared. Before moving, Go Insung put his mystical turtle into his inventory to rest first. From one of the houses in the city came out a large-bodied man. The stranger immediately cursed at Go Insung and ran quickly towards him. At first, Go Insung was surprised to see the arrival of the big, agile man. Go Insung could only avoid the man's attack as quickly as possible. Go Insung was asked to pay 10 more if he escaped, but Go Insung still tried to explain nicely that maybe the large fee misunderstood him. But the big man still forced Go Insung to fight him. Go Insung thought he didn't have time to fight the crazy man in front of him, so he intended to flee. While running, Go Insung opened a shop inside the dungeon, but all that was in the shop were some medicines like tonics, sleeping pills, or psychotherapy drugs. Go Insung became even more panicked and didn't know how to handle this problem. At that moment, the big man managed to catch Go Insung's body and threw him backward. Go Insung fell to the ground. The big man asked if Go Insung didn't remember the help he had given. Go Insung immediately answered, when. The big man swore that he wanted to bring a knife but instead brought a bottle. The audience became even more excited, laughing at Go Insung's situation. The big man kept saying that Go Insung owed 20 coins on his table. The big-bodied man tried to hit Go Insung with a bottle. Fortunately, Go Insung pulled out his spear just in time to stop the big bottle. Go Insung wondered why his expensive spear couldn't break a bottle. Meanwhile, the big-bodied man became angrier and cursed at Go Insung. Meanwhile, Go Insung kept trying to explain to the big man that he must be mistaken, as he was just a spirit. But the big man wouldn't listen and kept attacking until Go Insung's spear was thrown away. After that, without wasting any more time, the big man immediately hit Go Insung's head until the young man fainted. Then the stranger dragged Go Insung's body into his house. The big man chopped up vegetables and then cooked them over a blazing fire. Go Insung, who was dozing on the table, finally slowly opened his eyes. With a dizzy head, this young man looked around the house. At that moment, the big-bodied man came out of the kitchen and placed fried rice right in front of Go Insung. The big man said that Go Insung had to start eating 3 times a day from now on. Go Insung thought the big man might be crazy, because they didn't know each other, but he gave Go Insung food. Although he wanted to refuse, Go Insung's mouth watered seeing the very tempting fried rice. Go Insung thought to heal the strange man's mind with psychotherapy drugs available in the shop. So when they both started eating, suddenly the big-bodied man was shocked and instantly fell right onto his plate. Go Insung smiled as he watched the big man faint. He managed to put the sleeping potion he had previously bought from the store into the big man's food when he wasn't looking. The young man wondered how he couldn't face his parents after successfully defeating a giant undead monster. Go Insung looked around and realized that the place had been designed as simply as possible. He realized he had to leave the place first. But when he tried to open the door and window, everything was tightly closed. Finally, he tried to use a wooden chair to break the window, but the chair ended up breaking instead. The spectators commented that it seemed like the young man would have to stay in that place for about 2 months, feeling hopeful that this young man would face relatively easy obstacles. But in reality, he faced the most difficult challenges. Now, some spectators are trying to encourage Go Insung to get through the dungeon. Go Insung tried to contact the beauty, but this time the girl couldn't be reached. Go Insung was surprised and frustrated, but Go Insung guessed that the girl might choose the blue door. Before leaving the place, Go Insung grabbed a bottle and wanted to hit the big-bodied man's head. But strangely, the bottle couldn't hit the big man's body. The system appeared and informed that the clan protection had been activated. Go Insung was confused because this was the first time he had heard of clan protection. But he didn't give up and continued to try to hit the big man's body with the bottle of beer he held. Go Insung instead suspected that there might be a spell recited on the bottle. So he took a glass plate and was about to hit the big man again when suddenly the system reappeared and informed him that the plate was a soul extractor. The system informed that Go Insung just needed to place the soul stone on the plate and it would show his skill in extracting souls. With a wide smile, Go Insung quickly took the soul stone and placed the pinkish-red stone on the plate. Quickly, light shone out and the soul stone was extracted. Go Insung was asked to check the status window. It turned out that currently, the Windows window showed the abilities of the stone. The stone turned out to have fragments of hunting instincts from high-level undead monsters. The stone can detect life force within a 5-meter radius, and when its level exceeds the limit, its attribute level will increase. Go Insung was confused and said that he didn't have anything special, but he wondered why the big man had a bad impression of him. Go Insung looked around and realized there was nothing special in the room except for a kitchen. Then he opened a room which turned out to contain so many weapons. Go Insung was very stiff looking at those weapons and thought that the big man must be very rich because he had everything. Go Insung entered the room and was notified that it was a dungeon from the village that supplied items to clan members. Go Insung could find many useful items there. While in the room, Go Insung felt like the place was his own. This young man realized that the items in the place were very useful. While browsing, Go Insung was shocked because there was also an adamantine spear in the room that had to be bought for 3,000 balloons. The spectators laughed seeing the spear as if it showed proof of ownership to Go Insung. The young man approached the spear and looked at every scratch carefully, realizing that the spear was his. Go Insung looked at all the weapons in the room and wondered if the top 10 had stolen all the weapons there. Go Insung took a wine bottle and said that his attitude couldn't be considered stealing because he just wanted to take back what was rightfully his. The spectators asked Go Insung to think logically first and not to immediately accuse the big man. Go Insung took the bottle and tried to hit the barrier glass of his spear. But in the end, the bottle was thrown back into his face. Go Insung fell rolling in pain. The system appeared and asked if you wanted to buy a reinforced adamantine spear. 50% discount vouchers from the village shop can be used to buy a spear for only 1,500 network balloons. Go Insung stood up and quickly shouted that this was very annoying. Then he thought it would be better for him to go out and see elsewhere. But his intention changed again when he saw a gem that he thought was impossible to be there. It was a mysterious amethyst gem. The gem was worth 4,000 balloons. Go Insung wondered how the price of that gem could be more expensive than the adamantine spear that had been reinforced. He sighed and lamented that nobody wanted to buy something as useless as that crystal. Frustrated, the youth claimed that the gem was just a piece of junk. Not far from where the gem was, Go Insung spotted a red gem that could enhance evolution. Surprisingly, the gem's price was only 500 balloons. Go Insung was thrilled because finally, he could evolve his mystical turtle. Suddenly, the system notified that the hunting instinct of another figure had been aroused, and life force was detected within range. The big man had awakened and stood directly in front of Go Insung, hitting him with a bottle. This injured Go Insung's head, rendering him unconscious. At the dining table, the big man again rudely instructed Go Insung to eat. If the youth refused, he would make another large plate of fried rice. Go Insung grumbled slightly because today's menu was the same fried rice as yesterday's. Indifferently, the big man replied that tomorrow's menu would also be fried rice. He asked Go Insung to get used to it because now he had to spend the rest of his time there. Go Insung smiled wryly at hearing this. He asked if the fried rice couldn't be made with a different variation. Before that, the youth expressed many thanks because the big man was willing to cook for him. But the big man remained angry and asked for Go Insung's spoon if he still refused to eat. Finally, Go Insung said that the big man didn't need to take back what he had given. Then he began to eat eagerly. While taking the rice, the youth remembered that it was the 14th day he had been trapped there. He tried to ask the big man if they couldn't eat on separate plates like before. The big man immediately called Go Insung a naughty child, saying he would surely use sleeping pills again. But Go Insung tried to smile and deny it. After the meal, Go Insung tried to offer help with washing the dishes, but the big man insisted that the kitchen was his responsibility. Finally, the big man threw the dirty cloth and asked Go Insung to just mop the floor. While mopping the floor, the youth received information that some participants had also entered Dungeons 1-6. He concluded that there were already 5 people in Dungeon 1-6, so he didn't need to hurry. Go Insung offered to cook dinner, but the big man still refused, insisting that the kitchen was his responsibility. Finally, Go Insung could only sit quietly in the old chair in the living room. The youth pondered on how to open the door like the big man had been doing all this time. He remembered the door handle had to be turned left, then right, before pulling it down. He thought the blue village would be one of the symbols of longevity, but what he chose now was the red village. He was sure a dungeon couldn't have 2 themes, so he believed the clues must be in those 2 villages, the red village and the blue village. As Go Insung contemplated the red and blue villages, he finally concluded that red and blue, when combined, would become purple. The youth still remembered the amethyst crystal in the big man's weapon room was also purple. Go Insung thought he should remain calm because, after all, he could only know the truth about the amethyst crystal after buying it. But before that, he needed to confirm something first. At night, Go Insung entered the kitchen and called the big man, who was the chef. As usual, the big man was always angry with anything said by Go Insung. But Go Insung didn't care and still asked if the big man knew about the clan of protectors. The big man was surprised and immediately asked how Go Insung knew about that word. Go Insung answered that when he gave the big man a sleeping pill, the big man unconsciously mentioned the protector clan. The big man cursed and said they wanted to take him to their grave. Go Insung casually said that in reality, the big man was still alive until now. So Go Insung asked what the protector clan was. The big man said that the clan was a salve legend from the village. Go Insung asked what legend that was. The big man said that he didn't believe in legends. The big man spoke while continuing to fry the rice. Finally, when the fried rice was cooked, he told Go Insung to eat it immediately. Go Insung tried to make small talk by asking what kind of fried rice was served this time. The big man only answered that Go Insung had to eat whatever he gave. But Go Insung invited the big man to eat first. Even so, the big man refused and told Go Insung to eat first. Go Insung knew the big man must be worried. He drugged his food again. Even the big man told Go Insung to eat while shaking a bottle of wine in front of him, as if threatening Go Insung to eat first. As Go Insung ate, finally, the big man ate too. But just as the big man took a spoonful, he fainted and another one right on his plate. From the kitchen, a small turtle pet of Go Insung came out and was welcomed by the owner happily. It turned out the small turtle had put the sleeping drug in the fried rice. Seeing this, the audience was amazed and asked how could Go Insung not fall asleep when they ate from the same plate. Go Insung showed a bottle containing a tonic potion that kept him awake for 24 hours after consuming it. After that, Go Insung went into the storage room of the big man's weapons. Go Insung thought that he had to buy the amethyst gemstone immediately to always find a way out of that place. But before that, he wanted to buy one more item. Of course, that was the evolution gemstone that he would give to his pet turtle. Holding the red gemstone, this young man thought he would use these items later because the old man might wake up anytime. But as Go Insung headed towards the amethyst gemstone, he was rendered helpless because the gemstone was no longer there. He became confused and wondered where the gemstone could be. Go Insung suspected that the big man must have hidden it, but the crystal quickly reappeared. Before buying the crystal, this young man thought if the amethyst crystal turned out not to be the intended item to escape, then the audience could leave and everything would end. Meanwhile, Go Insung had to eat the fried rice forever. The system appeared and asked if Go Insung wanted to buy the amethyst gemstone. The crystal could now be bought with only 2,000 gallons plus additional discount coupons from the store. Go Insung rejected the system's offer and insisted that the gemstone in front of him was genuine and he believed in that gemstone. So after finding the gemstone, he took it and intended to take it away and use it later. The audience urged this young man to hurry because the big man could wake up at any moment. Before leaving the room, Go Insung still searched for something to use with the gemstone. But there were no clues, so this young man tried to shake the gemstone or even pull it out. But the gemstone didn't budge at all. Instead, from the dining table, the groan of the big man, who seemed almost conscious, could be heard. Go Insung said he was surprised, but his face looked weary and he had no intention of fleeing. This young man thought there was nothing else he could get in the store, until he found a hidden knot in the list of items sold at the store. Go Insung saw it as a secret code and several numbers, so he immediately rotated the gemstone left and right. At that moment, the big man woke up. Of course, he was angry because Go Insung took the amethyst gemstone. In such a desperate situation, Go Insung still tried to rotate the gemstone again, this time in the opposite direction. While trying to avoid the big man's blows, Go Insung continued to rotate the purple gemstone in his grasp. Even though the young man's body was kicked by the big man's foot, and his body was thrown far, Go Insung still tried to rotate the gemstone according to the instructions he received. The big man stepped closer to Go Insung, and with a terrified face, he said that Go Insung had to stay there and eat fried rice forever. Go Insung shivered and was very scared to hear that. But the system suddenly appeared and said that the path to dungeon 1-7 was open. Suddenly the hexagonal stone under Go Insung's body shone, and the young man thanked everyone for their food. The audience laughed seeing how funny this young man was finally able to escape from dungeon 1-6. As Go Insung left, the big man looked sad because now he had to be alone again. But he became enthusiastic when another participant managed to enter dungeon 1-6. Of course, as before, the big man would welcome every participant who came with enthusiasm and anger so he wouldn't feel lonely.